In our last video, we added girders and beams to our floor. I've got the floor turned off right now. So the next thing we're going to do is add a series of joists in here. And since this is the direction of our girders right here, then the joists are going to go from girder to girder, right? And so we're going to first pick a joist to do this, and then we're going to place it in set and determine it, how many. So let's go into structure, and joists are not listed in Revit as a separate item. They're just considered a different form of a beam. So we're going to go into beams, and if we look, we'll see we don't have any joist. We want to use, in this case, we're going to use an open web joist, and we don't have any here. Now we could actually use a wide flange beam as a joist, and I'll show you in another video how you would do that. But in our case, we want to use an open web joist, and so we're going to load a family. Click on load family, and we're going to go down to structural framing and steel. And you'll see in here there's several different kind of bar joists. I don't know how well you can see this in your video, but there's a type of a joist girder, what they call a joist girder. Here you see another joist girder. That's not what we want. We want what is called a K series. Okay, you'll see also an LH series. All of these have different load capacity capabilities. The K series is probably the least load capacity of the series, but we're just going to use a K. It's one of the more commonly used, not always the most common. And once again, you need to talk with your engineers for them to tell you, well, this will probably take a K or an LH or whatever. So we're going to go with a bar joist with, instead of angle, we're going to use a rod webbing, okay, instead of angled iron. And we're going to open this up, and we're going to see a whole bunch of different links here. And what we're going to do is we're going to select one at about a 12-inch depth. Okay, once again, you can go to Alan Alano, and he'll give you an idea of maybe what that depth should be. But I'm going to select 12 in this case. And we're going to load that in, and voila, there it is. Now to put these bar joists in, the easiest way is to do that from a plan. So let's minimize that 3D view and open up, since this is on the second level, structural second level view. I'm going to open this up, and we can see our beams are there, our little wonderful beams, our little columns are there. And now we're going to put in the joist. And there's a couple of different ways to do that. First of all, I'm just going to go back to structure, beams, and select that. K series, 12K1. And of course, simplest way is just to snap to the center line of that beam, and then draw and go to the other, okay, center line. And now we've got, great, we've got a bar joist in there. Oh, but one thing I forgot to do is check its top justification. Okay, so level, check the top justification, and then the offset, and -5 is correct on that, because we want it to sit right underneath the decking. So let's just open up so you can see that. Let's just open this up, and we'll zoom in here to our bar joist. Okay, there's our bar joist, and it's sitting right underneath. Okay, but unfortunately it's not sitting on top of our beam, because our beam is also, we can better see that in another section. So let's go, I'll close this section out, and we'll go in here and draw another section real quick. So view, the beauty of BIM. So we're going to go in section, I'm sorry, and we're going to draw a section that cuts right through here. This will probably be good. And actually I want it to go the other direction, so I'm going to flip it so So it's actually going the other direction, and I don't want it to show, but about that much of it. And with that done, then I'm going to flip and go up here to my bar joist, and of course it's being shown in a course, so I want to see more detail, so I'm going to go in here and say, hey, whoops, show me this in a medium detail. And if we zoom in here, what we can see is there's our bar joist. Okay, it's holding up our pan, but our beam right there is not holding up our bar joist. Okay, because it technically, remember I mentioned this, it technically needs to be 5 inches below there. So I'm going to go back in here, and well, actually it needs to be that distance lower. And so let's measure that distance and see what it is. So I'm just going to go from there to there, and it's 2.5 inches. Okay. So if it's 2.5 inches, then what we're going to do is take this and drop this by 7.5. Oops, my cursor moved. 7.5 inches and apply. And voila! Okay, now our beam is sitting on top. But we could go through and select each one of those, that would take a long time, so we don't want to do that. And so we're going to go back to our basement foundation 3D view that we set up, and we've already moved this one. Okay, you can see it's now sitting on top. And what we want to do is move the other girders. So I'm going to select this girder, select this girder, this girder, this girder, and this girder. And we are going to set that to 7.5 as a group. And so we're going to apply that. Boom. Now all of those should have dropped down. So if we look over here, now it's sitting on top. And so we're ready to rock and roll, right? So we're going to go back to our view. So I'm going to WT this and go back to our we'll just go our plan view. There it is right there. And we're ready to put in beams. And so we could sit in here, measure them off, create them however we want. We want these at about 4 feet on center. And so I'm going to come in here and measure the distance here to kind of see how much. So I'm going to put a dimension in there so I'll have it for later usage. So I'm going to dimension this, and that's 36 feet 2 1/32 inches, which is wrong. It should be 36 feet even. How would that happen? I don't know. But what I'm going to do is click on this and then the dimension and change it. By changing the dimension, that changes the location of the grid line. Now, fortunately, we had the beam, the column, locked to the grid line, so it moved with it. But look, this is off center. Damn, because we forgot to lock this to the center line of this. So what I'm going to do real quickly is align it. So we'll go into modify, and we'll modify by alignment, and we'll pick the center line of the beam, and the center line, I'll have to zoom in a little bit more to get the center line of the the beam, and now I'm going to lock it this time. So if I have to move this again, then they're going to move along with it. So I'm going to do the same thing here, go to the center line of the column and the center line and lock it. Okay, so now they're locked, and so they'll move. So that's 36. If we divide 4 into 36, that's 8. So we're around 8. And we could lay these out at 4 foot on center and go forth if we wanted to do that. Once again, this is set out at 32.6 right now, so it definitely should be an increment of 4 feet, which would be 32 feet, right? So now it's 32 feet, and we can measure, copy, measure, hit the control key, copy this over 4 feet. Okay, we need to make sure that this was at 4 feet too, and we could just continue that on. But now I'm not going to do that, because there's actually an easier way to put in these joists, and that's using a beam system. So I'm going to go back to structure here, and instead of selecting beam, I'm going to select beam system. Okay, and in the beam system, since I already had the case series in there, the beam type is set right here. Okay, on the current one, I could change it to whatever I wanted. You'll notice it says layout rule fixed distance. Sure, that's fine. We'll go with a 4-foot fixed distance. And there's different, there's clear spacing, maximum spacing. You know, we can say, hey, maximum spacing, and that'll then, we can tell them how many, and it'll do a maximum spacing of the how many we told them. The other thing here is you'll notice there's an elevation, okay, and we want to make sure we put -5 inches in there because we're going to change the elevation from the current view. So fixed distance, center justification, 12K1 bar. Okay, now we have two different systems by which we can put this in. Automatic, where it'll automatically go out and attempt to find boundaries that have already been set. Okay, or we can sketch our boundaries. We're going to do automatic first. Now let's do sketch boundaries first. So we're going to sketch boundary, and the simplest way to do that is, well, you could go in here and select center lines here, okay, and a center line here, but then I'd have to trim these because it has to be closed. Okay, so instead of doing all that, it's really pretty easy for me to just undo that, and I'm just going to draw right by a rectangle. And so I'm going to snap to the very center of this condition right there, which is what I want. And I'm going to drag it out and go to the center condition right here. Zoom in, make sure I got the center condition there. I'm going to lock all my boundaries so that if, once again, I move those columns. And this is one thing I always forget to do. So don't forget to lock things together because it'll make changes so much easier. Now, the other is this defines the beam direction. Okay, and of course, no, we don't want our joist running from this to this. We want our joist going from here to here. So we're going to click on beam direction, and we're going to select that line and say, okay, run it this way. All right, fantastic. And so we've got it all set, I think. And we're going to say OK. And now it's going to come in and boom, 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 boom. Okay. Now there's a rule where it split the difference from the beam itself. Okay. So it put 2 feet over here and 2 feet over here rather than 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, which is structurally probably better to do that. The other way, okay, now we can come back in and we can remove the beam system. Remember, these are now a group, a special group. So I can click them all and go remove the beam system, and it'll take it out. I can go in and edit the boundary in case I create a hole right here, for instance. I can go back in and put another boundary element in there that will then chop these beams or these joists where they need to be. So there's a lot of things I can do with that. I'm going to approach it though this time from an automatic, and with automatic set, and once again all of these settings in place, I'm going to come in and click on a little beam, and when I do, it says, oh, so that's a beam, then this must be a system here, and you want joist laid out. Okay, and you notice if I go to this side of the beam, it picks it in that direction. So I can go boom, boom, boom. All right, now let's go in and look at our section here. Okay, and we can see, ooh, got a little joist there, working great. There's the beam in the background. Sits right on top of where it's supposed to. These are flushed up together because they're to the center line. And this one out here. Now later we may want to move this out, and we can talk about that, but for right now, not a big deal. And also if we cut our section in this direction, Ooh, yeah, we can even see this better. Sitting right on top. All of our joists are in. Wow, we got it complete. The next video, we're going to talk about putting in the other floor systems in our assignment, and that is with not bar joist, but using actually I-beams for joist, and also for using a precast concrete slab. Sorry about that. Went blank for a second. Y'all have a great day. Bye.